Welcome back, everybody. The federal government's plan to legalize marijuana by next summer just came a step closer this week, with Bill C-45 receiving final approval in the House of Commons. Ex-Dragon's Den dragon and entrepreneur Brett Wilson is back on our show to discuss why he thinks the cannabis industry is a great investment and will not go the way of the 90s.com, where there's all of these expectations and a lot of hype, and they don't live up to them. Good to see you, Brett.
Good morning.
Okay, tell us why you're here, first of all. There's a first ever something happening tonight.
Well, yesterday I was touring Tweed, which is one of the biggest manufacturers, if you will, of cannabis near Smith Falls outside of Ottawa. And then tonight is, in fact, the first ever, Lyft is organizing it, but the first ever Cannabis Awards Gala. Okay. So it's the evolution of cannabis when you've got awards galas. Now, I'm not going there to present. I'm not going there to receive. I'm just going there to mingle. Okay,
so what do you think about everybody talking about this green bubble, and we're not sure how it's going to do, and we're seeing stocks triple, right? The top ones anyway right now. What do you make of all of that, where there's so many unanswered questions as to who the market will be and how big it'll be?
Lots of challenges. I started investing sort of as a strategy in cannabis almost a year ago.
Yeah.
And our family office, as we call it, my son and I, have invested in close to 40 different strategies in terms of growing and distribution and equipment and marketing and HR and all aspects, just getting to know the cannabis space.
Yeah.
Because when Trudeau announced he was going to legalize it, it changed the game for Canada on a global basis in terms of cannabis.
Speaking of, the world will be watching how we do integrate this and how it flushes out. So what do you think will happen? What will happen to the underground market? Are people going to go from their buddy Joe to the LCBO? What's going to happen?
You know, one of the core issues is the quality control around cannabis, molds, mites, and mildew. And in the black market, the underground market, there's no control whatsoever.
Yeah.
So you do not know what you're ingesting. You cannot know what you're ingesting. And that's one of the reasons medical marijuana is so closely supervised. And then ultimately, Canada will be a world leader in terms of the global standards for controlling the production and distribution of cannabis. So the quality, we'll be allowed to ship, or we'll be able to ship our technology in terms of growing. We are already set to be today a global leader in cannabis.
Let's talk about that, because you're willing to share a story about your own family member, your daughter, right, with her experience with medical marijuana, and you see the effects it has and the benefits.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, my own experience with cannabis goes back to 1973, and that would have been high school, and I might have inhaled. I'm going to acknowledge all of that, but I haven't been a consumer since then. I haven't really looked at it very closely until about a year ago, and started to realize the efficacy in terms of what this product can do for people. And my daughter has been on a prescription for a while for stress and anxiety. Yeah. Best friend breaks his neck. He's on it for morphine and cannabinoids to help with pain control. The game is changing in terms of how people are perceiving this whole product. And what was an underground product that nobody talked about, I can't tell you how many times people have said, I didn't know you were into the, blah, blah,
right.
blah. So there's a percentage of the population that's much larger than anyone ever thought.
But you said we do need to invest in these medical studies, these sweeping medical studies, to be able to look at all the variables and make sure that it is clean and that it is actually helpful as opposed to having any harmful effects.
Well, that's where we were talking before about the anecdotally. There's all sorts of stories on. You can Google almost any. It can solve psoriasis. It can solve skin cancer. It can solve brain tumors. Again, these are all anecdotal, or they're modest studies. I have a daughter who's a research scientist, and she said these are not true double-blind, efficacy tested, ethics tested. Nothing is really done. And I shouldn't say nothing. The Israelis are way ahead of the world in terms of studying the use of all forms of cannabinoids. But the real bottom line for me is that we need more research in order to prove the use of so many of these products, because right now the testing hasn't been done. It's coming, and it's coming fast.
Yeah, I'll say, because I mean, July 1st is fast approaching. I know we're going to be seeing a lot more of you, because this is the hot topic. And you did mention your son. Did he run away? Russell, show your face. Do you promise to come? Come on, it's a father and son situation. You're working together. I love this. Everybody, this is Russell, Brett's son. Yay, he didn't want to be on camera. That's live TV. How are you, Russell?
Good morning, how are you?
Are you loving me right now?
Absolutely.
Do you promise to come on together? He said you're a very good speaker, and maybe next time you'll come on and talk about
no guarantees.
Working together as father and son. Thank you so much for being back in town and coming on our show and doing this for me live. I appreciate it. For more information, everybody, breakfasttelevision.ca. Where else do we find info? Any sites you recommend for more info, Brett?
Whether it's Aurora or Freya or Supreme or, all of the big growers have product information on their websites.
I'm calling it now, Dragon Smoke Den, featuring Brett, Snoop Dogg, and you're working with Bubbles.
Oh, I love Bubbles.
I'd watch. Thanks, guys. Right now, over to Tammy.